afternoon, class. I am Miss Catherine, and today I have another story that I'm going to be reading to you guys. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you, show of hands, how many of you know the story of the Three Little Pigs? Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of us know the story. It's about a big bad wolf who comes, who huffs and puffs and blows 2 houses down. And depending on the story you heard, he might have even eaten 2 innocent little pigs, So that's not a very happy, nice story. So today I'm going to be reading you the true story of the 3 little pigs, alright? It's a little twist on what you may know of about the 3 little pigs. But before we go into this, I do want to ask you guys to keep 2 words in mind. These words are villain and victim. Now, I'm sure most of us probably know what those words are. When we hear the word villain, we think of maybe a bad guy or a bad girl. Someone who does something bad, who isn't a very good person. For example, we can think of maybe the Joker, we can think of Darth Vader or Thanos. These are people who did something really bad, okay? And they caused harmful actions onto other people, and those people that were hurt, those are the victims. Victims are innocent people that were harmed some way or somehow by something bad. So I want you to keep those 2 words in mind, because when we think of the 3 little pigs, who's the villain in that story? Who's the villain, who's the victim? We know the villain is the big bad wolf, right? He's the guy that, he blew those houses down, he left those piggies without a home. He's a bad guy. The victims of the story are those pigs that lost their houses, or the pigs that got eaten. They're the victims of the story, while the big bad wolf, he's the villain. So I want you to keep those 2 words in mind when we read this story, because by the end of the book, I want you to tell me who you think the villain and the victims are, because this story, it might change your opinion. Okay, so remember, the villain is the bad guy, the victim is the innocent person. Alright, so we're reading the true story of the 3 little pigs. Let's begin. Alright. Everybody knows the story of the 3 little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf. Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. Let's take a look at what's in that burger. Got like a mouse here. We got bunny rabbit ears. It's a little snout. Maybe like a puppy snout. I got 2 little paws. Maybe that's like a kitty or a raccoon. Would you eat that burger? I wouldn't eat that burger. I don't think so. But anyways. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. You can see his granny over there. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So of course the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house. So I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. And I sneezed a great sneeze. Look at that. Oh my goodness. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig. Dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seems like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. Okay, so what just happened? All right, let's look at that again. So he sneezed and he accidentally blew that entire hay house down. And the pig had been ignoring him. When the wolf was calling out, the pig pretended he wasn't home, but he was. And so the wolf accidentally killed him. He accidentally blew down his house. He accidentally killed the pig. But did he accidentally eat him? No, right? He chose to eat the pig. Right? Yeah, the pig was dead, but he didn't have to eat him, but he did. So just keep that in mind, okay? I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell in the stick house, on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, Go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. No, he's kind of rude, huh, this pig? I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. Oh man, look at that. And you're not gonna believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, so I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. Okay, so before we go into the brick house, let's look at that one more time. The wolf, he accidentally sneezed and accidentally broke down the house and accidentally killed the other pig. You know, that was a mean pig, huh? And he accidentally killed him. But again, did he accidentally eat the pig? No, right? He said he wanted a second helping. So he ate that pig. Keep that in mind, okay? I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again. Ooh, he's mean like his brother, huh? Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cut from my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, And your old granny can sit on a pin. Oh my gosh. It's his grandmother. He's so mean, huh? Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when someone talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporter found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? And that's the end of the true story of the three little pigs. Now, were you keeping those two words in mind? Or they're villain and victim. Villain is the bad guy, someone who does something wrong, and victim is an innocent person who gets hurt by bad actions. So now that you've read this story, I want you to tell me who you think the victim or victims or villain is in this story. So let's look at the wolf. Would we say he is the victim or the villain? He didn't mean to blow those houses down, but he also didn't have to eat the pigs when he killed them, right? Like, that's kind of disrespectful. So, would you say he's the villain here? Because he destroyed those houses, he killed those pigs, and he ate them. That's kind of like a villain, huh? But then we want to take a look at the pigs. they were mean to the wolf, weren't they? The first one just ignored him. The second one was rude, told him to go away. The third one was mean about his grandma. They were kind of victims themselves, huh? Or were they just villains, you know? Like, they didn't have to be nice to him, did they? But, you know, it really makes you wonder. Who would you say the victim and the villains are in this story? Would you say maybe all of them are victims? All of them were kind of mean to one another and didn't deserve that? Would you say all of them are the villains? You know, the pigs were mean for no reason. The wolf ate the pigs, you know? He didn't have to do that. Or maybe, you know, it's up to you, really. I want you to share with me who you think the villains are and who you think the victims are, okay? And that's the end of the story. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.